until the world. I'm gonna sing and I'm gonna sing until the world. I'm gonna sing down under the water until the world.
Um, there actually haven't been that many, to be honest. But I think I've probably in a mostly male-dominated industry for pretty much the majority of my career until pretty recently, to be honest. So I guess the most influential woman that springs to mind is Zanny Colac. So she's just happens to be one of the greatest contemporary violinists in Australia. And I've only just recently met her in 2018, I think it was, when she approached me to join forces with her ensemble called Spire. And yeah, basically, the Spire stands for Sounds and Performance Inspiring Recognition and Equality. So, and it pretty much sums up this kind of long overdue need to celebrate our fierce community of Melbourne female musicians. So, yeah, so it's kind of like the opposite of a boys' club, really, where only girls are allowed. So it was a really good introduction into not only meeting Zanny, but being able to meet all these other amazing women that we've been fortunate enough to be able to play with, like Kate Sobrano and Mojo Juju and all people like that. So it's been a really fabulous time, I believe, for women and myself since 2018, since meeting Zanny. So yeah. Um, for someone that comes to mind recently, she's also happens to be a friend of mine, Mindy Meng Wang, who's a fabulous Guzheng performer. So she's been wonderful at sort of being able to push the boundaries of this traditional Chinese instrument. So she's been doing some really awesome collaborations recently with people like Paul Grabowski and Brian Ritchie and Tim Shiel. So she's really, pushing the boundaries of her instrument, which is really inspiring to see, not only as a musician but as a female musician. So yeah, I mean, otherwise, I follow cellists Anne Mueller and Julia Kent religiously. So they're both amazing contemporary cellists who utilize live looping. And, they're certainly not afraid to experiment with unconventional sounds, which is great. So they're sort of doing awesome things for the cello too. Um, Yeah, look, when I think about it now, and you sort of reflect back on the old days, yeah, for sure, things like not being paid as much of the boys on tour and things like that, or um, sort of being placated by various sound engineers for, not knowing what I'm talking about when I'm trying to ask for a particular, frequency to be taken out of my cello on stage and stuff like that. But you know, I actually play with an electric cello live now, so I've eliminated that problem altogether. So win-win for me. But it's yeah, it's you don't realize it at the time. It's only been really in recent years when us sort of women as female musicians have all been sort of talking about the stuff that used to go on, whether we were on tour or whatever it was, and just go, "Yeah, actually, that wasn't right. That wasn't fair." So the idea of being able to talk about this stuff and actually, sort of go, actually, no, we kind of need to make some changes concerning that kind of stuff. So, and just sort of learning to kind of speak up for yourself too, which has been a big learning curve too. Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think so. There's been a huge, banding together of women, especially in the last 10 years here in Melbourne. We're all kind of forming, women groups, bands, and we're having these conversations. And we're going, it's actually not okay to not be paid as much as men. It's not okay to be, to be kind of treated in a physically awkward way or, being emotionally blackmailed or whatever it might be. And we also have this idea called social media now. So, no one wants to be shamed on social media for doing the wrong thing. So I really feel like, it's a good it's a good thing to kind of be having these conversations and kind of educating everybody in the process. So I feel like, in the next 10 to 15 years time, we can even be prouder of where we've come from. Um, well, my latest project, called Beyond the Lake, which is this sort of ambient neoclassical crossover project, that my partner Nick Delaney and I created, has something really super special lined up, next month. We're doing our first album launch, at Toff in Town, on the 28th of April. So we kind of, Nick and I were sort of doing these sort of weekly live stream events on Facebook and YouTube back in the pandemic, and we've sort of playing these lovely sort of long form, soothing, instrumental based, kind of pieces, really. And then it just sort of evolved from there. And now we've got sort of this album that we've kind of made based on those sort of, live stream performances. So yeah, it'll be really fun to actually kind of, launch this project that started as this sort of fun thing to do, that was we were able to relax, we were able to make other people relax in the process. So yeah, so it's good. Melbourne people should come down 28th of April to the Toff. Um, I guess the other thing I've just recently, I was kind of one of the very lucky ones to receive a creative workers grant recently through Regional Arts Victoria. So that's kind of been able to afford me the time and space to kind of start crafting some new music for the solo, for cello, electric cello and loop pedal. So there'll be more on that as the year progresses, for an album to come out next year sometime. So that's great. Looking forward to doing more of that. And actually today, International Women's Day, being International Women's Day, I'll be at the Recital Centre with Women of Soul, with people like Chelsea Wilson and Rita Satch and Kylie Aldist, and a fierce team of female musicians as the backing band. So it'll be at 7:30 tonight at the Recital Centre. So fun night with, an all-women band, which will be awesome.